Hey everyone, this is Brian Kaz here, joined by my friend and business partner, Sean Casey. I've got another Wednesday webinar for you here. This is a pretty cool one here, and it'll be on 5 services that you can do with WebFire, where you can get paid $500 to $1,000 or more each. In some cases, a lot more, but that's an easy range to basically shoot for there. And as always, if you have any questions or anything like that, we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. And also at any point throughout the call, you can feel free to ask a question, and either Sean or Sharon will basically answer you in the chat itself, or at the very end I'll take time to also answer you live as well. So we'll get going in just a few moments right here, but once again, any questions at all, feel free to ask us throughout the call. And with that, guys, without further ado, let's get the show on the road. So once again, welcome to the WebFire Wednesday webinar. And this one will be a 5 services that you can do with WebFire for $500 to $1,000 or more each. So again, these calls are every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is about right now. And they'll be either a live training and or Q&A call, for our members, and these will feature, usually either myself, Brian Kaz, Sean Casey, both of us at once, or occasionally a featured special guest if we think that their expertise would be of value to our members. But usually it's about 80 to 90% tend to be with either myself or Sean or both of us at once. If you're here or you're registered for this series, you'll get a reminder each week so you don't forget. But if you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area, usually within a day, under the training tab on the left side nav bar. So you click on training, and then you'll see a tab below that, or basically a category below that called Wednesday calls. You click on that, and the newest ones will be at the very top with their titles right there. So just make sure to wait maybe like a half day to a day before it shows up there, because we need some time to render the recordings and all that stuff right there. And you'll want to use these calls as an opportunity to get even more training, ask strategy type questions, get feedback, or make suggestions on what else you'd like to hear or get trained on. And as a special note, make sure to also check out our prior Wednesday calls as well as our additional trainings and such, as there's a lot of info there that a lot of you have been basically asking for more training and such on. So make sure to check those out first as well, because there's a lot of topics and stuff there too. And very briefly, we'll go over the WebFire member rules to success. Step 1, follow the steps and the trainings that we have. If you're having issues or you're not getting the results that you want, make sure that you follow the steps that we laid out. Typically, I find if guys aren't getting the results that they want, they're usually missing like at least 1 or 2 of those steps right there. And usually the good side is that's a pretty easy fix. Number 2 is don't give up. And this means, seek help when needed, but don't get too dependent. If you don't know what a simple term means or anything like that, typically if you just do a quick Google search, you can find out within seconds what that is. So there's some guys that immediately will ask basically everyone around them when they could just solve it themselves within seconds, and then there's some that never do a search or never ask for help for whatever reason. So you don't want to be either of those. You want to make sure to not give up. And try to help yourself first, but if you legitimately get lost, by all means, ask us and we're happy to help. And last but not least, no whining or negative attitudes, because we really feel that's kind of the quickest way to fail, regardless if it's in business or your personal life. So make sure not to go into it with a bad attitude, and you should be perfectly fine. And just as a quick announcement, it's getting pretty close to our London workshop. That's just several weeks away right here in June. So while the seating still lasts, you can actually grab a ticket for free, but you have to go to that link right there, webfire.com/London. So just make sure to go to that link right there and you can grab a seat. Well, seating less right there. So some pretty cool stuff that we'll have there. And it's not like it's not a workshop on, hey, this is how this tool works or this is how that tool inside WebFire works. It's much more of like, hey, here's how to increase your lead acquisition, or here's how to increase what you can charge. Here's how to here's a couple services and stuff that you can sell. Like, it's much more hands-on and much more how to grow basically your business than how to use like a certain tool or anything like that. So really good stuff there, but make sure to check out that at getwebfire.com/London because that's coming up pretty soon here. And I just have a couple of quick questions for you, and you can basically type in the relevant number. So my first one is, what best describes you and or your business below? Type a 1 if you think you're brand new without a site. Type in 2 if you have a site but really not much of anything on it. So maybe you have a site but you haven't really monetized it or you haven't really done much, it's just, but you have a site. Type in a 3 if you do mostly affiliate marketing, whether on your site or off it. Type in 4 if you do mostly e-commerce, like selling actual products and stuff online, like physical products and such. Type in 5 if you mostly sell web services to businesses and stuff like that. Type in a 6 if you're a local business looking to get more exposure online, or type in a 7 if it's basically anything else. And if so, after you type in 7, maybe like in a few words or like a sentence explain what it is that you are right there. So I'll give you guys maybe a few seconds right here to fill in that. Okay. Question 2, what category of tools in WebFire do you most like or use? Type in 8 if it's the SEO or keyword research tools. So if there's anything to do with SEO, like website analysis, keyword tools, domain tools, anything like that, type in 8. If it's the lead tools, type in 9. If it's the content tools like the video maker and submitter, the article spinner, the content submitter, do a 10 there. So again, 8 for anything with SEO, 9 for anything with leads, like the lead finder tools and all that, or a 10 for the content and the video tools. So I'll give you guys maybe a couple seconds to think about that, and then we'll go on to the final question. Okay. All right, question 3. And then this is the last one, how many of you have a business that does 100K or more a year in revenue? Type 11 if so. And then the follow-up with that is, of those who typed 11, if someone could double your sales with a few tweaks, what would that be worth to you, and would you be interested in looking into that? Type in 12 if so. All right. So that's only if you do 100K or more a year in revenue. Okay. All right, cool. All right, guys, well, those are questions we had there. Now let's move on to our training for this week on 5 services that you can sell for $500 to $1,000 or more with WebFire. So some of these you might be able to do in some way, shape, or form outside, but WebFire makes it super easy to actually do these. And actually, I actually lied, it's not just 5. I actually threw in a bonus of 6. But it's a little bit of a different one, so that's why you'll see why I didn't count that as one of the 5 in just a bit here. So again, this call will basically talk about the 5 services and what those are and how those work and what you can charge. And then we'll follow that up with the Q&A as well as the cash giveaway as well, where we'll give $100 away at the end of this call too. All right, So here are the 5 services right here. So the first one, and probably the most obvious, is what I just call general SEO, or basically getting guys ranked on Google, Yahoo, and Bing, and all those right there. Usually you can charge anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 one time, or $500 to $1,000 plus per month, depending upon which route you want to go and the scope of the job, and how hard it might be, or how many terms they might want to rank for, and such. And there's a few ways that you can go about this. Probably one of the easiest ways is to just give out a free SEO report, which again, WebFire can actually brand that for you. So in the keyword tool, or the, well, that too, but the website analysis tool, you can actually brand it towards you. So they won't see WebFire or anything like that mentioned. So it will be completely branded towards you. And you can give that out, for free. And what's cool with the report is fairly extensive. It's not just like, hey, this is your ranking. Hey, this is that. It's more so, hey, these are the problems with your site. So it actually tells them what the problems are. Whereas most, reports out there tend to basically say, you're not ranked on page 1. Or they'll say, some of the more advanced ones might say, you're ranked number 16. And they really don't give much else. And most of these guys are like, okay, cool, I already knew that, and you're of zero help. Whereas the report that we have says, hey, these are the issues on your site. This is probably why you're not ranking, or why you could rank better. And this is what you need to do to basically fix it. Now, the catch is, the vast majority of these people that you give a free SEO report to won't know how to fix those, even if you tell them. Like if you say bluntly, you're missing this in your title tag, so you need to change that. Most of these guys say, oh man, I don't know what a title tag is, I don't know what this is, and that's perfectly fine if you're you, because if you have WebFire, again, you only have to click like the fix button or use the SEO Inferno tool, and you're perfectly fine. Those guys don't have that. So to them, they're like, man, I have to be a techie, or I have to hire a guy, and they think that this will cost them way, way, way more. So when you come in and basically offer to fix those suggestions and stuff like that, because again, the same tool that makes the SEO report and the website analysis, it allows you to fix those through the tool itself, or you can also use the SEO Inferno tool inside of WebFire to fix those issues as well right there. So super easy to fix most of those right there very, very quickly and easily. The other thing that you can do as well is you can make a quick video of their site or their general niche site. So what I mean by that is, instead of handing out like an SEO report or on top of it, you can make a quick video where you go through specifically their site. Now that takes more time, but it can make them feel more obligated to write you back. And it makes you look a lot cooler, even though it's like taking an extra 5 minutes or so for each prospect right there. Or if you want to save some time but still have it seem still pretty cool, if you're trying to target, let's say, dentists in Atlanta, you could do a video of your screen where you're basically doing a search on Google for, dentist Atlanta, Georgia, and you can basically make comments on why some sites are ranking and why some sites aren't. Like you can say, hey, this guy ranks for this term here probably because he uses this in his title tag, he has it in his description. If you click on a site, you see that he has it mentioned here, whereas this guy is ranked either on the very bottom or on page 2 or 3 because nowhere, does he mention these keywords and such on his site. So you're giving them useful info, but at the same time, they don't really know how to do that themselves, or at least most of them won't, like 99% won't. And even the ones that do oftentimes don't want to take the time to do it themselves, because in that case, they're dentists. They specialize in, basically making you hurt, rather than ranking sites and stuff. And I apologize if there's any dentists here. But, yeah, so, and the other thing that you can do as well is you can niche your service down into what I call like a sub-niche. So instead of having just like a general SEO service, you could have SEO for dentists, or SEO for chiropractors, or SEO for local businesses in Madison, or whatever you want. And again, the pitch that you have, or the videos that you make, or whatever right there, is virtually the exact same thing. You just change the name of it, and you change the example that you give right there. Because people think you specialize specifically in their niche, they're more likely to use you versus the next guy. So that's just one service right there. And literally the key with that, guys, is you don't, or what I see a lot of guys oftentimes doing, they try to focus on like the super cheap prospects or clients, like the guys that can't really afford you. And there's two things to that. One, it's very hard to convince a guy who can't afford you to give you money. Is it possible? Sure. Is it easy? No. And on top of that, the results that you can achieve for them are much more tough too. For instance, if there's, let's say, a business of some kind that sells a product that's, $5,000 a pop, okay? Or even $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever. If they get one sale, one additional sale from your work, they make a profit. And that mindset is much, much easier than if you're helping a guy that makes like a $5 or $10 profit per sale. He's thinking, wow, I have to really get a ton of these sales to just break even. And it's much harder, to basically, have that work there. So just keep that in mind right there. The second thing that you can do besides general SEO, and keep in mind, the numbers that I give in terms of what you can make, that's just like a general guideline. It's not to say that you can't charge less, you can't charge more, or anything like that. That's just a guideline to basically shoot for. I've had guys in the past I've charged upwards of 12 grand a month. I think that's it can be a little bit harder to land a client like that, but there's a lot more in the $500 to $1,000 a month range, or $1,000 to $5,000 up front. The second thing that you can do, and this is very, very easy, is video creation, optimization, and distribution. So you can charge $500 to $1,000 or more a pop, and you'll seem like the cheapest guy out there to them, even though this is super easy to do. So what that is basically where you create a video, either with Video Firestorm inside of WebFire, which makes like PowerPoint type slides or like slide videos, or you can upload any video you want. So you could actually hire a video guy, like a pro one, on a site like Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, where basically almost everything is $5 there, to make a super impressive one. Like if you want to do like basically an animation one, or like a whiteboard one, or a cartoon one, or like anything that you want that looks super fancy, you can have them make that for $5, and then you can run it through the Video Firestorm tool to basically optimize it and submit it on your behalf to basically rank. And what's cool here is that it can rank not only in YouTube, but also on Google itself. And what's cool with that is that's the kind of service, especially if you go the Fiverr route there to get like an animated one, or one that looks really nice and customized for them. They're used to people charging like $1 to $2 grand just for a basic video, where if they see that, hey, you're not only doing the video, but you're optimizing it and submitting it, and helping get that ranked, they think, wow, that's an insane deal. Even at $1,000 a pop, you seem like the cheapest guy out there, but your actual like raw cost might be $5 to $10 if you go like the super fancy route. And maybe like, we're talking, less than 5 minutes of your time. Maybe if you're like super slow and you want to go the extra mile and do a few other things, okay, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, but still not that much time for a lot of profit right there. And that's the kind of thing that a lot of businesses feel cooler if they have a video. So they all feel kind of like cool, so it's like an easier sell. Kind of like if there's a local business, if they have a website, they feel cooler about themselves. Even if they never use it, they just feel cool to basically have it. Same thing with a video. But when the video can get optimized and ranked and start to bring them leads and stuff and help them make sales, that's a win-win for all sides involved there. It's a way for them to also get additional rankings and such too. And you might get guys that, they hire you once, they're like, this is awesome, I like how you ranked me for this term here. Do you think we can make another one that possibly targets this group right there or this keyword right there? And you might have some that buy several from you as well right there. Now the third one is similar to the video side, but it's another done for you then. You can create blogs for your actual clients. So don't just rank their site, you actually create a blog for them and you rank it as well. Now this is one that you can charge more for. This can be anywhere from usually like $2 to $5 grand a pop. And for, again, a lot of people that sounds cheap. For the guys that have the money, that can sound really cheap. If you're going for a guy that, again, sells a $5 product, that sounds really expensive. But for the guy that makes more, that can be a really awesome deal. And you would sell a service here where you make them the blogs, you optimize them, you fill them with content, and the content can be either from the client or from yourself or outsourcers. Again, you can hire guys very, very cheaply to write content, even on Fiverr, and then you rank them. And you do this by using the keyword tools inside of WebFire to find the easy to rank for terms. So again, very easy. And again, if you need more info on how to rank sites, make sure you watched last week's training that we had, because we actually laid out exactly everything you have to do to get some easy ranking. So if you follow just our training from last week, you should be able to easily do number 3 right here and create a simple blog. I mean, literally, you could create a blog in like 5 to 10 minutes time. And you can quickly optimize that and then fill it, with the content and be off to a great start right there. And, even if you include the research and using the tools and all that, you're talking like a half hour to like an hour. Even if you're really like slower, let's say 2 hours tops for a 2 to 5K profit, right there. So definitely check out last week's video where we showed, hey, how to use the keyword tools to basically target the proper keywords, how to then, turn that into like a blog post or like an article, where to use those terms, and then how to, target those in the title tags or the descriptions, how to look for an exact match domain name. All those can almost guarantee you top page rankings. And then on top of that, you can also guarantee these guys that they don't have to pay you a penny if you don't get ranked for any of their terms. So don't overthink that. This can be like a money back guarantee that if they're not ranked within X time, that they get that all back. And there's little risk to you for 2 reasons. One, it's not really a ton of work on your part, and 2, you're not saying that you'll rank them for like a super hard term. Nor are you usually saying that you'll rank them for a specific term. You'll say, hey, here are 10 keywords or 5 that we're basically trying to rank for, and you would know ahead of time how easy or hard those are. So you would try to pick maybe 5 or so that are, according to the keyword tool, much easier to basically rank for. And if you say, hey, we'll get you ranked for at least one of those in X time on page 1, that's not too hard to basically achieve. You can also have a guarantee that you'll continue working on it, until at least X amount get ranked on page 1 right there. That's another option right there. You can also do the same thing, and instead of doing this for sites, you can do it for videos instead of blogs. So again, you could create videos, rank them ahead of time, okay, and then sell the pre-ranked sites and the pre-ranked blogs. Now, remember, in terms of blogs, WordPress and Blogger.com make creating blogs super, super, super easy. You can go to Blogger.com right now and literally make a free blog and host it for free and have a basic one made in a matter of minutes. And you can step this up a notch and charge even more by just making these sites before you even have clients, by trying to target generic terms and then sell them pre-ranked sites and pre-ranked videos. So again, if you remember the trick from last week where you do keyword research plus a relevant domain plus relevant title tags and content, those basically equal easy page one rankings almost every time. And if you have a site or a video that you rank ahead of time before you even have a buyer, your social proof is there. It's a super easy sale at that point. And so like if you're trying to target, dentists in Atlanta, let's say, you could target a term like teeth whitening in such and such place, and some term like that, and create either a video or a blog on just that right there. And once that gets ranked, you can sell that site off to whoever easily, in that price range right there, or even more in some cases, depending upon the niche and the city, and stuff like that. Usually, the larger the city or the larger the niche, the more it's basically worth. But buying a pre-made site like that can really be a no-brainer deal for a lot of these guys, and doesn't really have to take you that much time to actually make these. So I mean, if you make 10 of them, you're not really talking that much time. Maybe a half day, possibly a day, of work right there to make 10, and you don't even have to be the one doing the actual work there. It's, again, very, very easy, because again, you're just outsourcing the contents and stuff like that. And if you sell only one or two of those, again, you're making a huge, massive profit right there. And even if you make a couple that you don't sell, you can even use those as social proof and such too. But usually, if you find that they don't sell, you can always reduce the price or even rent those out and get some takers off that. The next thing that you can do for the fourth service is a PR service, and this is a big one right here that a lot of people think is super hard, but it's actually not all that hard at all. And typically in this, it can range from $500 to $3,000 or more. I know people that have actually charged tens of thousands of dollars, even some in the hundreds of thousands of dollars on up. But I'm trying to say, hey, realistically, let's try to start by shooting for the 500 to 3,000 plus range right there, and then obviously try to go up from there and try to target your clients better and better and such. But what you would basically do right here is you would basically offer to help get them or their product or their website mentioned on other prominent blogs and sites. And you can use either a blog post or basically an article from them, or make one yourself, or like an extra fee if they want, or just outsource that part right there. Then you'd use the guest blog post finder tool to find available blogs that accept guest blog posts in your niche and submit their info. So you can actually email all those places or go straight to those sites and submit their info on their behalf, because we provide you with those links and the email addresses within that tool right there. You can also sort those sites by which ones are the more popular sites, which ones have more or which ones have a higher Alexa ranking, and by higher, the lower the number is, the more traffic it gets. So if the Alexa ranking is like 5,000, that means it's in the top 5,000 sites, so they're really big. If it's like 100,000, it means it's in the top 100,000 sites, which is still quite big. But if it's over 1 million, that says, hey, it's probably not that huge of a site right there. But it's a great way for you to see the best of the best opportunities out there, and on behalf of your clients, reach out to those places to try to get their content on. And if you reach out to enough, you should get at least a couple takers right there, which can be worth a lot of money to them. Now, optionally, this is an extra trick right here that I've actually had a client of mine that actually has done this for decades, okay? And he says it's worked awesomely for him. I've seen it work myself as well, but he's used it way more than me, and I'm going to share this trick with you right here. So the trick is you can reach out to prominent magazines, specific editors, and media outlets by hand, because they're usually almost always looking for good stories or news bits. And the cool trick that he basically did is he pre-wrote them basically an article ahead of time and said, hey, And now, of course, he made sure that it was like a useful article, that it wasn't just like all about him. I mean, let's be realistic here. These places want relevant quality content, so he made sure that it was relevant quality content. And he would send them this article and say, hey, feel free to use this anytime you want. Feel free to also edit any part that you want as well. He just asks that they mention him at least once somewhere in the article, or mention his product or site or his name. They wouldn't have to say that it was by him. They wouldn't have to say that the article was by him. They just have to mention him at least once, but they could basically edit anything else that they want right there. Or sometimes he even said that they could basically edit anything at all, period, and he wouldn't even require that they mention him, but he found out that in like every case they still would mention him because they would feel essentially guilty not. That makes you look like a little more legit and less like you're looking for a promo, even though you really are. And what works really well here, and why this works, is if you're like, let's say that you're basically an editor. You're probably like anyone else out there. You're probably looking for like the laziest way to get your job done, or with the least amount of effort, right? So imagine, if you're at your desk and you're an editor, and you find out that, hey, instead of having only 10 pages this week, you have 12. So you don't want to say, okay, well, I want to give those extra 2 pages to this other section. The majority of times, like, oh man, I got 12, I'm going to use 12 now. And they might not have a story done to fill up those extra 2 pages. So they have 2 options. They can go out and write a new article and do all the research and do all that work and spend, possibly days doing all that. Or they might say, oh wait, I have a pre-made article that's perfect. It's a quality one, relevant to basically the magazine or the newspaper or whatever that they have, or whatever section they're in charge of. And if they don't like certain parts, they can change those parts out or basically edit it, and they turn days of works into a half hour tops, and it saves them a ton of time, and it helps you because, again, you get free publicity then. And the cool part here is, you don't necessarily get, that, like, it's not like you send them an article and the very next day they're like, I'm going to feature you right now. Oftentimes it might be, you have to wait until they have the extra room, or until they have like a last minute need for an extra story. That's when they're likely to go back and basically use that. Now, at the time, the client of mine actually did this starting in the 70s. So this is before the age of the internet, and he would basically send them like a fax or like a letter in the mail, having all this out there. And he said in almost every case, almost every week, he'd have at least one story about him or his business. And that's the kind of thing where again, he might send out like a dozen letters and such at a time, but every week he would get someone mentioning him. And then now it's even easier because you don't have to write a letter, you don't have to fax, you can email. And usually most of these places, they'll have the editors and stuff on it, and usually they'll have like an email address you can easily find up, or easily look up and send. There's also sites now like helpareporter.com, which you can sign up, and there's reporters on sites like that always looking for experts. So on behalf of your clients, you can sign up basically as them and have reporters reaching out to you, or basically your client, trying to see if they'd be interested in like giving a quote and stuff. And if you see, hey, someone's looking to do a story on this, and this is relevant to you or your client, you could get yourself or your client to take a minute to basically answer that. And if you reach out, and if you respond to a few of those, chances are you'll eventually get quoted there, and you'll get some publicity for yourself or your site or your product. And that's a service that, again, a lot of people don't know about that. It's just, again, it's helpareporter.com. And there's a couple sites kind of like that do comparable things, but that's a big one there. And that's one where, again, a service like that can be worth a lot of money to a lot of people, and they think, man, I mean, there's PR firms out there that literally are paid tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what WebFire or just a little extra work can basically easily do. In fact, I also know a guy who had, he actually owned like a plastic surgery business, and he actually previously paid a PR firm over $100,000 in 1 month to do some work, and he said, you know, he wasn't even sure what was done, and he's not sure how to even track what the results were. So imagine a guy like that just throws out $100K and doesn't even care. Imagine you know, how happy he'd be if you charged a fraction of that, and we're able to actually show him all the results that you can get through these tricks right here. I mean, that's the kind of client that is the ideal in almost all these cases. It's one where you know, they're easy to help. You know, a single sale can be worth thousands to even tens of thousands of dollars to them. So the return on their investment can be huge, and it's fairly easy work for you at the same time. So again, that's the kind of guy that you want to basically target there. All right, the fifth one is you can also do a lead selling service, and typically, you know, anywhere from about $300 to $1,000 or more a month would be what I would shoot for right here. This is where you'd sell a service where you use our lead tools inside of WebFire to help find your clients relevant leads that you can pass on to them. This works, again, especially well for higher value items. You don't want to necessarily waste time on like a $5 item. There's always some exceptions right there, especially if there's a lot of traffic, you know, sure, but usually the higher priced ones are just worth more and easier to basically do this for. As an added feature and as an extra cost that you can essentially charge them, you can even respond to those leads on their behalf for more money. So you can write to them, you know, on the forums or on the blogs or through social media like Twitter and such. And this, again, works well when you have higher value items coupled with either a free offer or major incentive for them to reply back to you. So if you had a client of a chiropractor and you found local guys complaining about back pain, you know, the value of one of those clients could be worth hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars over time, and you could have an offer where you're like, hey, you know, you get a free, you know, consultation or half off, you know, your first visit, or your first visit might even be free to kind of get them hooked. Anything like that that has massive value, or like a major incentive to get them to actually respond, but on the back end can make a lot more. You know, that can be a good service right there, and you know, a good lead example right there. You know, another example that you could do is like, you know, if you worked, if you had a client that was like a roofer, you could find guys that were complaining of, you know, leaks in their roof or hail damage or anything like that. And imagine if there's a guy that said, man, we just got hit with a hailstorm, and you know that right then, you could, you know, pass that lead on or reach out on their behalf that same day, be the first person to reach out to them, which gives you a substantial advantage over everyone else right there. And, you know, the cool part with that, you know, example of the hail, you know, you could simply say, hey, I see you had some hail, you know, damage done. We do free estimates, and we work with your, you know, insurance to make sure, you know, that there's, you know, no cost to you, or no cost other than the deductible that your, you know, insurance will charge right there. So it's a win-win for them. It's a win because they get possibly a new roof and new siding, but a win for, you know, the guy who hires you, because that could be worth thousands to even tens of thousands of dollars to them for a single deal right there. So again, all those guys are prime examples. And again, when you reach out to these guys trying to sell that kind of service, again, in their eyes, like, man, I just get one sale, I make a huge ROI. And the sixth way, which is a bonus because it's a little bit more different in that you don't charge like a fee up front, and they can vary a ton. That's why I made this in not one of the official 5, so we can call this the number 6 here. you can be what I call a deal maker. And this is usually more, commission-based, although you can charge. There's certainly things that you could do to basically charge, but it's probably slightly better to be more commission-based here, and it can be worth a lot of money with the right deal. So what you want to do here is you can target high-value businesses or products where a few sales can be a lot of money, and you want to ideally target places that they could do other deals with other large businesses and such. For instance, if it was like, let's say, an SEO service, you could reach out to website design firms. Or if it was, a reputation management place, you could reach out to law firms, where instead of a client wanting to sue a guy to help with their rep, you could, like if the guy said something bad, they could hire a reputation management place to help them out right there, and it costs a lot less. Or if you were, let's say you were working with a business that was a mover business, or people that helped you move and stuff. You could reach out to furniture stores and try to see if they'd be interested in, on what they currently pay their own places that they contract out to and stuff, and see if you can be competitive there. So you're trying to strike essentially deals there, and ideally ones where the businesses or the deal could be worth a lot of dough is what you want to basically shoot for. And you want to make a deal with them to find them, either potential partners or affiliates or advertising sources. And you want to take a cut of the sales for each one, and the cut you take depends greatly upon the type of service. It could be very little in terms of like a percent to very high, but in terms of like, let's say you basically dealt with product like, I don't know, like let's say like a web design firm or like an SEO firm, or let's say that you tried to target, another example here is, let's say that there was a service that did, I don't know, what's that called when you, because there's a prime example I saw. When you basically, are at a resort and you're on the lake or on the ocean, and there's usually like a parasailing place. A lot of times those businesses will do side deals with the hotels and stuff around there, where the hotel gets a cut if the hotel books it through them. So you could, have a parasail place as your client and reach out to all these hotels and stuff for them right there, which again, you can pull up the contact info of these places very, very easily with some of the tools and stuff that we have inside of WebFire, like the competition backlink tool and such right there. And you could take in a lot of cases 10 to 20% of the profit, or essentially the take that the vendor gets for affiliate deals, or maybe like a 5 to 10% cut for advertising sources that you bring to them and such right there for any deal that goes through. So you can use the competition backlink tool to find sources of traffic for their competition or whoever you're trying to basically target, then reach out to those places to try to either strike a deal with them, or if they turn it down, inquire about what their advertising rates and stuff might be. So you're first trying to strike a deal with them, on like the affiliate side or anything like that. And if they turn that down, you don't just have to toss those guys out. You could ask them, what their ad rates might be, or anything like that, so you can still bring value back to your main client. Like if you don't strike an affiliate deal for them, you can say, hey, but here's a few places that might be awesome for you to advertise at, and if it works out, you get a cut right there. One solid deal here can bring in a lot of reoccurring revenue for a long time, and it's a no-brainer deal to the actual client because it's either it works or basically doesn't. And the cool part is you don't have to waste a lot of time on it. Like you can do a lot of this stuff, within like 10 to 15 minutes of using the tools. Within like an hour, if you want to write up, like an email and all that right there, again, not terribly hard to basically do. So you're basically a deal maker matching up, not business to consumers, but more so business to businesses to try to match them up with large-scale deals and stuff. And that can, again, a solid deal there can be worth a lot of dough over time right there. So it's a little bit different than the rest of the services that we basically talked about, but I want to make a point to kind of point that out, because there are a handful of people I know that are actually doing quite well just matching up different businesses with each other and making side deals and stuff like that, whether it be for like a fee up front, a monthly fee, or a commission basis is up to you. But again, just another option that, again, the tools can help you with right here. All right, so now I have a question for you all. So obviously that was a lot of info for one call right here. I not only told you how those services were basically done, I gave you a handful of tips of how to basically go about those. But I thought if you guys were interested, possibly next week I could do a call devoted specifically to just how to market those services. So if you want to call specifically on how to, or on like additional tips on how to specifically market and find clients and what to write those guys and how to get those guys in and make those sales. If you want that for next week, just say yes. Or if you want a different call or a different topic of some kind, just let me know what you'd like to see next week, and I can do that. If I get enough yeses, we'll turn this into like a two-part call where next week we'll just have it be entirely on additional ways to specifically market those 5 things, and maybe we'll have most of those ways can apply to more than just those 5 or 6 things, I should say, but it will be specifically referencing the examples and stuff from today. So all right, let's just see. And of course, if there's
everybody said no, Brian.
What's that?
Everybody's saying no.
Yeah, I just
somebody said they need a webinar on how to use WebFire for your e-commerce. That's in the training area already. We have more than one webinar about e-commerce, Shopify, all that kind of stuff already in there. So there we go. And Glenn asked, do we have a resource library? I think you're probably talking about, like, do we have, like, all kinds of trainings on all these different topics? Yes, in the WebFire member area, there's about a bazillion training videos. And all the archived trainings. So, hey Beth, just email support and ask them. They'll tell you because they know where they all are. I'd tell you, but I don't know where they all are.
Yeah. So most ones, if you're looking for like the past Wednesday calls, just click on training on the left side, and then you'll see a drop down, and it'll say Wednesday calls or Wednesday training. Click on that. I'll have a drop down of all these calls listed out by basically the title of the call. Like this one we'll have up there probably by tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest. But yeah, it looks like probably 95% of you are saying you'd want that call versus another one. Yeah, so all right, so that sounds good right there. So next week we'll make this be part 2 on how to actually get clients and find those and convert those guys into sales. Now that you know what those 6 things are right there. So that all sounds good. All right, Tony asked what last week's call was. Last week's call was basically step-by-step everything you need to do to get a new site ranked. And we actually walked through a handful of the tools inside of WebFire and such too. If you click on training and then click on Wednesday calls, the very first one you'll see if you go right now will probably be that. If you wait like a half day, the very first one will be this call because they'll always have the most recent one there. So with that, do you guys have any questions or anything like that? And then we can do the cash giveaway immediately after. And to partake in the giveaway, if you just go to getwebfire.com/FB group, and that link's up there right now, you can join our free Facebook group for WebFire. And if you're not, a user of that, just click join and you'll get approved, usually, within like a minute or two. Sharon has a post up there basically asking what you thought of today's call. You can leave any kind of comment you want. Try to leave it within that post though, because it makes it 10 times easier to basically count versus like outside all those posts. So if you try to leave your comment within Sharon's post right there, we'll pick a random person from there to give $100 to over PayPal today.
And please only make one post. Don't make 27 trying to game the system. Okay, just ask you to just make one.
Yep, and try to make it again within Sharon's post right there because it's much, much easier versus this outside of that. So we'll give you a bit to answer that. And of course, make sure that if you're interested in the London event, that is only a few weeks away or so, go to getwebfire.com/London and you can sign up for free right there. So while you guys do that, if there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to write those off and we'll do our best to try to answer. All right, so Stephanie asks here, can you briefly explain Alexa? And you're basically referring to, I assume, the Alexa ranking. And that's basically a system that ranks the popularity of a site. Now, it's not perfect. There are some sites that might be a little bit off. So, I mean, take it with like a little grain of salt. But basically, if you have an Alexa ranking of 1,000, that means that you're the 1,000th most popular site out there. If you have an Alexa ranking of 1,000,000, that means, you're the 1,000,000th most popular site out there. Anything that's like 100,000 or less is actually very, very good. I mean, if it's less than 10,000, that's like insanely good. If it's over like 1,000,000, that tends to be like, not as stellar, but still not necessarily bad. Yeah, that's just based on the amount of traffic and stuff that it gets. Karen, so the Facebook group is one that you have to join. So it's private. So like we don't allow like everyone to join and post anything that they want. So you have to join, but we give permission to everyone that basically asks. Sharon just checks to make sure that you're not like, a random spammer or anything like that. So you certainly can join there. It is free to do so. And if you're not a member now, you'll be approved within probably like a minute. And yes, April, we can cover how to sell and find clients and stuff. That's what I asked for next week. If you guys want that, even though we gave a handful of tips here on kind of how to sell like that, as I said, a pre-ranked site, like but we'll give we'll give more tips with specific examples next week. So that's all fine. All right, and Sean, feel free to chime in if there's any questions that you see.
Yeah, once you ask to join the Facebook group, just wait like 30 seconds. Sharon's approving you as you get there, and just refresh the page if you can't post, because that'll just trigger Facebook to know that you're now approved as a member. So some of you mentioned you can't post. That's why just be able to do that.
And let's see. So Tony asked here, what was last week's call called? I forget the exact title, but it was something like how to get ranked from scratch. And if you click on training and then Wednesday calls, it'll be, if you go right now, it'll be the very top one. If you wait like a half day or a day, it will be the second one down, because you'll see this call here instead. Okay.
All right, so Frederick asked, speaking of search words, keywords, how do you separate the keywords when you post on your web page for SEO? Do you separate them with commas? What do you do?
It
And
depends what you're talking about.
yeah, are you
If
talking about in the text? Are you talking about in the title tags? Where are you talking about, Frederick?
Yeah, so if it's so in the
In the
title
title tag.
tags or yeah, okay, in those you don't want to have a title, you don't want to have a title tag with tons of different keywords. In fact, basically every web page or every blog post you have acts as like a separate page. So every page should basically target like a main keyword phrase. So you don't want to, like, for instance, you don't want a title tag that says, weight loss tips for men, weight loss tips for women, weight loss tips for kids, weight loss tips for seniors. That just looks really dumb, and you won't get ranked because it looks like spam. But you could have like a blog that could be in general on weight loss, and one of the blog posts or one of the pages could be, weight loss tips for senior men, if that was your keyword that you were trying to basically go for, and you'd use that, in your title tag. All right, John asked here, when creating blogs for clients, where do you get the content? Easy answer is wherever you want. But I mean, if the client has content that they want to use, you'd use that. If they want to pay you to write the content, you would either write that yourself, or you would outsource that on a place like Fiverr or wherever you want as well. So don't overthink that. As far as the recommendations for different titles and stuff, which you asked there, every page or every blog post that you do can basically target a different keyword. So like if you're a dentist, let's say, and you want to have a blog where you talk about teeth whitening, you talk about no pain dentistry, you talk about dentures and whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's probably like a dozen or more different things that basically a dentist does. You could basically target one per page or per blog post right there, and make sure that the title and the content is relevant to exactly what you're trying to rank for right there. All right. All right. All right. And yeah, if you sent a request to join the Facebook group, you should get approved again probably within like a minute or so. All right. Okay, and as far as the keyword thing goes, so yeah, so Fred, yeah, so for a title, you don't separate keywords there. Just try to basically target one main phrase, for each page or each blog post, but don't confuse that with the videos. So when you submit a video, it'll ask for your keywords. You can separate those by a comma, and that's just like a tag that it essentially attaches. So that's a little bit different than a title. So a title should be a phrase that grabs attention, but also has the main keyword that you're attempting to rank for. But a keyword tag, which is just a code that basically goes on the video and such, yeah, you would separate those by a comma. And each of the tools that basically talk about that will have a walkthrough that shows you how that's done right there too. And as far as an image tag, yeah, for every image you have, you'd want like one main keyword phrase for each one. You wouldn't want to have like 30 keywords attached to a single image, because it's kind of like, if I showed you a picture of a zebra, I would have a keyword tag like zebra picture or something like that. I wouldn't want to have a tag like zebra, cows, farms, grass, mountains. Even though you might want to rank for all those terms, if Google sees that, they're like, hey, this guy's trying to game this right here, and logic would say if you have an image that has nothing to do with the keyword, that's never good. All right. All right, and Sharon, can you check on Karen? She had a question for you. Yes, Fred, there is. So there is technically on a web page, you can have what's called a keyword tag, which is basically this code that goes on the site, which we have a built-in tool that helps you basically do just that, where you separate the keywords by a comma. But it's not really that big of a deal lately. Like, it's a very, very, very small factor in SEO to have like a keyword tag on a web page. But it's one that we have there because, again, it's super easy to do anyway. And in that case, yeah, you just separate it by keyword and just make sure it's relevant to the page in question. All right. And yes, Fred, we do keep the website analysis tool and all that stuff dated as well. And we have actually made a handful of changes. And as a side note, we're actually in the middle of actually making a lot of pretty big changes to WebFire as a whole, as well as several of the tools and stuff. We're actually completely redoing a handful of those to make it even cooler and faster and do some extra things that we'll talk more about when it gets a little bit closer to that right there. But that will all be included for all the current members and all that there, even though, in the future, we'll probably raise the price. You guys will all be locked in at whatever price you have now. Okay. And yeah, Anita brought up a good point. We have a lot of articles in the articles section that also talk about some tech terms and stuff like that. All right. Okay. All right.
I think we got them all, Brian.
Yeah, I think we got all of them. So now we can do some cash. So I'll give you guys maybe another, 10 seconds to do a comment on that page right there. And also don't forget about the London event as well. Right there, you have that link up there. I'll just pause the screen for a second. And let me just bring up the page. All right, just gonna refresh this. All right. So here's the post right here, asking what guys thought of the call. We have 54 comments there right now. 54 plus, so there's usually a few that are outside of it. All right, there's a few that posted under the wrong one, but that's fine. I'll count. I'll count these guys right here. Okay. All right. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This person writing right here, but technically in the wrong one, but that's fine. 9 plus 57, so we have 66 in total. I think there's one person writing, so 66 in total. I'll give you, whoever that is, maybe 10 seconds to basically finish. All right. So 67. And yes, so make sure it's under this one right here. And now I'll go 167. Hopefully it won't be in the middle because those are the hardest ones to go for. 52. All right. 52.
And the answer is 14.
All
I
right.
just want to see if I can confuse you when you're trying to count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 50, 52, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. 52 is what I said, right? Yes. So, Trev Fisher, if this is you, or this looks like you, and you live in Bedford in the UK, and you're married, you are $100 richer. Just make sure to give Sharon your PayPal info. She'll just post that in the chat right there, and she'll make sure to PayPal you over $100 today. So again, congratulations to Trev Fisher right there. So yeah, and Sean, with that, were there any other questions or anything that popped up?
No, I think we got everybody. So there we go. Somebody just asked, what's the best way to make $10,000 overnight? So the answer is buy a lot of lottery tickets, like $50,000 worth of lottery tickets, and you might make $10,000 overnight.
The best answer is sell something.
Post up your PayPal email address. I just saw him do that. So April, seriously, the answer is that if you want to make money, I assume you're facetiously asking overnight, quickly, then you've got to promote something that will turn into money. Now, you could, like Brian just talked about, services you can sell for $500 or $1,000 to local businesses. So if you went and hustled and sold those to local businesses, you could generate that kind of money in pretty short order. If you're assuming you're a WebFire member, you've got access to all the services and training and everything else inside of WebFire to do that. Plus, if you go through the bonus training in WebFire that talks specifically how to sell services to local business, then you've got the training and the packages and everything else for that stuff for you to sell, and you could do that. If you've already got your own business and have other products or services to sell, then I would focus on doing those. But if you're just saying, hey, I'm trying to start from scratch and I need something to promote, then that's exactly what I would focus on promoting, what the type of things we talked about today or the things that are in that bonus training, so you can do that and take action and go rock. All right.
Yeah, I would say, like, hands down too, if you're trying to make a lot fast, it's much easier to basically target higher price point stuff than basically cheaper stuff. Because I see a lot of guys that try to get rich off of like a $5 product, which is it possible? Sure. Is it easy? Not really. Compared to like higher price point stuff that you could sell where just a couple or a few sales could make you reach your goal there. So just keep that in mind. So with that, guys, next week we'll do the training that will be focused more on how to get clients and marketing tips and stuff. We'll basically gear it towards the 6 things that we basically mentioned on this call. but will definitely apply outside of those things too. So with that, guys, if you have any other questions or if there's any problems or issues or anything, you can just contact us through the help desk inside of WebFire or write support@webfire.com. And with that, Sean, unless there's anything else you want to throw in.
No, I think we got all the key stuff done. We're ready to roll.
Alrighty. All right, guys, we'll have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.